All right, guys, what's up? We're live for another Cold Hard Truth. I'm joined today with my friend Andrew from Legal Mindset. What's up, brother?
Good to see you, Rich. Good to be back on the channel. I'm here in Seoul. I got a South Korea. I got a different setup, but I'm really excited to be on and talk to you about some stuff that involves the law, but also involves some common sense that can help guys involve themselves a little bit more, so they avoid the heartbreak, they avoid the pain, and they avoid potentially being shot.
Yeah, it's been a minute. So if you guys are not familiar, we're not going to play the clips. It's problematic on platforms like YouTube, but what we'll do is we'll describe the sequence of events. I've got some of the news pieces up in front of me here on my second screen. And actually what I'll do is I'll just give you the visual because there's a still shot here, and I'm pretty sure this will be okay just to kind of frame the article. And what I'll do is I'll just grab the link to this and I'll put it in the description. But this is the heated moment that led up to the incident, which we will describe for you and offer some opinions from the legal angle, which angle, which Andrew will be great at providing some feedback on. And I want to talk about it from the perspective of divorce and my experience dealing with family law and a lot of the guys that I deal with, because I've coached hundreds of dudes now that are high net worth individuals dealing with conflict and high conflict divorce. There's a lot of acrimony and fighting back and forth when the kids get picked up on all that sort of stuff. And I got some thoughts on that too. So you've probably researched this way better than I have. So do you want to like tell the story on what happened here, with this particular incident?
Yeah, sure. And once again, guys, there's lots of videos out there. I've done some on my channel, A Legal Mindset. There's many other lawyers that have gone out there and analyzed this in terms of the self-defense analysis, in terms of at the end of the day, once the shoot happens, was this a good shoot or not a good shoot? I'm not going to go into depth on that, but I'll just give a very 30,000 foot overview. So there's two gentlemen. There's Kyle Carruth, who's the guy, or Carruth. People say it different. I'll just say Kyle. Right. So Kyle is the guy with the gun, right?
That's this guy on the left here.
Yes. The guy on the left is Kyle. He's the one holding the gun. We think it's a 22 caliber based on the fact that when it fires, it is very, very silent. The guy in the teal shirt, who's a bit larger, his name is Chad. That's his actual name. I'm not calling him a Chad.
He's the Chad, though.
Yeah, he is Chad.
He was the Chad, actually, but yeah.
Yes, was RIP. He was the guy who was going nipple to nipple, as I say there, to the guy's chest, nipple to nipple.
It's more like nipple to shoulder in this.
It's the height difference. Yeah. So Chad had come over to pick up his kid. Now, here's the thing, and we're going to get into this fact. Let me just get through the facts here. But Chad came over to pick up his kid. Now, he went over to Kyle's place of habitation and occupation. So this is the house where Kyle, the guy with the gun, lives and works.
Now, he was the boyfriend of the mom of the children, though, right?
Yes. So Kyle is dating his employee, who is the mother. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, this is a double bad scenario, Rich. So he's dating his employee, who is the mother of Chad's child. So Chad,
he's dating an employee single mommy.
Yes. And Chad is now remarried to a single mommy who's in the car. And one of these videos that's recorded of this is recorded by the single mom that Chad is remarried to. So both of them are remarried to single moms, right?
Do we, by the way, know what kind of business this guy was running out of this house over here?
So they call him a landman, right? Now, I don't know exactly what that qualifies as in Texas. Maybe if there's some Texans out there, shout out to my Texans, what a landman means exactly, whether they're just taking care. I mean, landsman, Landsman. The definition on Merriam-Webster is a person who lives on the land, especially.
There's a farmer.
Yeah, like a farmer.
Because I could have sworn I heard chickens or something clucking in the background when she was filming, right?
Yeah, I think rancher would be appropriate.
Okay,
right?
All right.
So he's a rancher, Texas guy, right? And the video plays out where Chad shows up and he is yelling at, actually, no, before that, sorry, before he's, before.
It looked like he was having a conversation with the kid's mom about where the kid was. It was 3:15. And she said something along the lines, if I heard it correctly, that he's not here, but I wanted to spend more time with him. And he's like, well, it's 3:15. It's my time. You want to spend more time. You spend it with him on your time, right?
Yes. So he comes in and he's yelling about the 3:15. He's 3 hours late, at this point. So 3 hours late at this point.
Meaning it was around 6:15 at this time when this
About
happened?
6:15 at the time of the incident, right?
Mhm.
Now, Kyle is initially outside on his porch and he tells Chad, "Hey, get off my property," right? Like, leave. And Chad says, "I'm not going anywhere." So at that point, Kyle very calmly turns around and goes inside. About 30 seconds later, in that whole 30 seconds, Chad has continued to berate the mom. He's attacking the mom. He's saying that he's going to subpoena everybody. He's going to bring him to court. He's got police that are coming to the mom's parents' house. I mean, just threatening them with court process. But also,
Did the child live at that house? Like, was that a residence/business or?
the child was not at that house. The child was actually somewhere else. We don't know whether it was for sure at the mother's house, at her mother's house.
Okay.
That's the assumption. But the child was not there.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, him being there, he wasn't going to get the child because the child was not there. So after about 30 seconds of Chad yelling at the mother, the single mom, and berating her, now she's standing off to the side, just kind of, coming up with excuses. And Kyle comes back out with the gun. And as soon as Chad sees Kyle with the gun, he gets up in his face. He goes then to the infamous photo, nipple to nipple, nipple to shoulder, right?
Mhm.
Gets up in his face and he says, something along the lines of, if you're going to bring it out, you better fucking use it or I'm going to take it and use it on you.
Right.
So he threatens to use the gun on him. Now, at that point, Kyle fires a warning shot. Now, to be very clear, this is something that's unambiguous in law in any state. There's no such thing as a warning shot, guys. You don't fire warning shots. Like, we're not in the military here. This isn't like, that we're scaring off some Taliban, right? This is.
And it wasn't up in the air. It looked like it was at his feet, right?
Into the porch, right? He
Into
fired it at his feet into the porch.
Yeah.
Right? So at that point, when he fires the round, Chad begins to grab the gun, right? He goes for the gun. And there's kind of some shoving. And the result is that Kyle is shoved off the porch, which is relevant under Texas law because there's certain provisions that relate to defense of property, and your porch, your front porch, is legally considered part of what's called the curtilage, or a heavily used area of your house, which is considered part of your habitation, part of your home. So it's almost as if Chad threw him through the bedroom window, right? Yeah. It took you from inside your house to out. That's actually relevant analysis under Texas law.
He went back a few feet, like I would say, what, a good 6 feet?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He threw him a good distance.
Yeah.
And then the whole, thing after that is that he's thrown off the porch, and within about a second, Kyle lines up a shot and shoots him, and he's dead. Shoots him twice, and Chad is dead, right? And then proceeds to afterwards talk to the girl who's dating Chad, who was filming it from her angle, and said, right, "I told you not to come. I told him to leave, this and that." They have a conversation. Yeah. But the legal question has been, is it justified? Is it not justified? I took the position that it's more lawful but awful, right? Like under Texas law, I think it was lawful, but like morally, ethically, yeah, I mean, okay, shouldn't have probably shot the guy, right? And both parties were in the wrong here. But I think that's a self-defense analysis. What I wanted to come to you is that there's a lot of issues in here for family law. And one thing I got really worked up on, is Chad is here and he's talking about the court process. He's talking about subpoenaing people. He's talking about the police, but he's there physically himself trying to get the kid. Mm-hmm. That's something we call in the United States, we call that self-help, right? Self-help, which is you are trying to go in and enforce this court order yourself. So one thing that's not permitted in the United States generally, I mean, I haven't found a jurisdiction that is. If there's any American lawyers out there that know it, please message me, andrewesquirelive@gmail.com, or drop a comment on my channel. I haven't found one that allows you to go and get the kid if the mom is late with the kid, right? You call the police, you go to the court, you do something, but you don't go and get them yourself. So I think starting out, there's a massive family law issue. There's like glaring family law issue, like right up front, is that you have to use the court process. You can never go and try to use the court order that says, here's the parenting plan. Mm-hmm. drop off at 9 a.m. in the morning and pick up at 3:15 p.m. You can't say, okay, they're late. Let me bust down the door, come in someone's house and get the kid because they're late, right?
How old was the kid, by the way? Do you know?
I would have to look into it. I know that those facts are somewhere. I believe the kid I believe the kid was like 4 or 6 years old.
Young.
So very
now,
young.
Andrew and I were talking before we went live. If you guys can let us know in the comment, do you guys know what caliber that is? Because we're thinking it's either 22 or a 9mm. It's very difficult to tell. It's very quiet. Like when you listen to the footage, it doesn't give, like, it's definitely not a 223. It's not a 45. I own a 45. It's not that loud. I mean, it's like, I was surprised to see him. Like, I thought it was actually like a BB gun when I heard it go off in the video the first time. I was like, oh, there's no way that, like, he's hurt, because I saw him go down and then he wasn't moving. I'm like, hang on a second. Like, what's going on here? Eric says it's a 223 here, which I don't think it was, because I've shot 223s and they're really loud.
It's way louder than that. If it's an AR and 223, you would hear it.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Barrett says it's a 9mm, but I don't know that a 22 would, like, is it possible for a guy to drop and not move with 2 shots from a 22?
It's possible. Is it likely? No. But is it possible? I mean, yes, it's possible, right?
Chad Faust in the comments says a 9mm rifle, it's pretty rare, right? They sell 9mm rifles for sure. Mm-hmm. I know they do, because they sell them here in Canada. They're semi-automatics and they're non-restricted.
Yeah.
But anyway, it says here in the comments it was a Ruger 9mm takedown. Okay, so there you go.
Oh, actually, that makes a lot of sense. Actually,
a 9mm would make sense. A 22 doesn't make too much sense. But anyway, so from the self-defense perspective, you're saying he was in the right. He was in the right to defend himself.
This is the lawyer split. So let me get into it here. So some lawyers go frame by frame and say, because he waited a little bit, because there's kind of a pause, he kind of, even though he was thrown, he took a second to line it up. Yeah, they're saying that that's unjustified. So there's lawyers out there that'll say, there's this whole law tube thing now. A lot of lawyers out there. Some lawyers will say, hey, it's unjustified, right? Mm-hmm. Under the law. My position, and I think the position that most lawyers that read Texas law and understand Texas law and have gone into it, I'm not a Texas lawyer, but I'm just a lawyer who can read, right? Is that under Texas law, it's justified. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that this is the big fact of this case, is that the family of Chad Reed, the guy who died, right? They released this video in order to try to push the prosecutor to file charges. This is in Lubbock, Texas. The prosecutor hasn't filed charges. Now, one thing people are saying is they haven't filed charges because no jury is going to convict. Even if this was wrong under Texas law, people in Lubbock generally, and, I've had a lot of people reach out from Texas and say, yeah, this is behavior that, it may not look right. It's white mm-hmm. trash, but it's known that if you go on someone's property in Texas, you might get shot. Mm-hmm, so mm-hmm. a jury, is very pro 2A. They're not going to convict on this. And I have a personal opinion that we should not be going with frame by frame shots to justify whether something is a good or bad shoot. That's mm-hmm. my personal opinion. There are some court cases that back that up, that say that frame by frame analysis is not the way we need to break things down, because humans don't react on a frame by frame basis. That's my personal opinion, right? And I think it's backed up by law. Mm-hmm. But there's lawyers. I'm not saying there's not lawyers that'll argue something completely different, because there's lawyers that'll argue a different position.
All right. So let's, and I see the super chats guys coming. We'll deal with those more towards the end. As far as the family law issue, you're suggesting that he shouldn't have taken matters into his own hand and do what exactly? Like call the cops, leave? Like what would be the better response here?
Yeah. So I think that the best response, and by the way, I do see the super chats, and I have, I think at that point of, hey, it's 3 hours. Okay, let the cops deal with it or go to the court. But I'm going to be real with you, Rich, and I pulled my chat, and let me ask you, how common is it when you're speaking with guys that you hear about moms who are playing games, who are hours late, maybe even don't give the kid over at all?
Very common. Very.
Yeah, it's super common. And dads do it sometimes too, right? But
by the way, here's the poll results from my community. Almost 3,000 votes. 9% yes, his actions were warranted. 91% said no, it wasn't warranted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think big part of that is everyone looks at the failure to turn over the child and was like, that's wrong. And it is
Yeah.
wrong. But as much as you get pissed off about it, guys, because I'm pissed off about it too. I think these single moms are playing games. I absolutely agree. Right. However, does that mean you should go over there and confront somebody? Especially should you go on somebody else's property when you have this dynamic of another guy in the situation?
Mhm.
Your chances for violence skyrocket, right?
Mm.
Forget if there's a gun involved, even if there's not. you know Kyle could have got the shit beat out of him by Chad was bigger, but these situations just ramp it up so much higher that it's just worth to go to the police, go to the court, right? And if she's found in violation multiple times, yeah, there's going to be repercussions. But
That's the
one
part that
time,
most people don't see, though, is that there's probably been multiple violations, or he's been led astray a number of times, and that was probably the straw that broke the camel's back. And out comes dude that's banging his kid's mom with a gun, telling him to get lost, and he's like, really? You think so?
yeah, yeah,
Right? Like,
yeah.
after he's been probably taken to the cleaners, and also dealt with times where he's showing up and the kid's not there, and he's probably had enough too, right?
Mm-hmm. Rollo said zeroed out. That was his tweet, and I'm like, that's pretty close.
I don't know if I'd call it zeroed out, but okay, yeah.
I mean, well, after Kyle, fires, he certainly might be
Well,
considered. But
he got zeroed out with a
yeah, I mean,
with a red dot, yeah.
with a red dot, yeah, exactly.
Um,
So it's not legal. My TLDR there, guys, is that it's not legal to go there and do it yourself. Don't ever do that. Don't ever think to do that. If I can save one person from some trouble, right, by having them not go there and try to enforce these orders themselves, I think that's worth it.
yeah, and I mean, like, now the kid doesn't have a father, and he's gone. There's all kinds of consequences that have come from this. From my perspective, watching it, I was watching it, for the first time, and I was thinking, okay, this isn't real. And then I was thinking, well, hang on a sec, did he just shoot him with a BB gun? That was really quiet, and why isn't he getting up? And then I watched it a few more times, and I'm like, he obviously must have been frustrated with something to stand ground on somebody else's property in a state like Texas where everybody has a
Yes.
gun, and then try to fight the guy with the gun. When
Yes.
what he really like, okay, I get it. You're going to get frustrated. You want to pick up your kid. It's a Friday. You had a long week. You probably been raked over the coals, putting out fires all day long with what you're doing. Guys chase excellence, right? That's what we try to do to provide for family. And then he goes to pick up his kid to have his time, and he's not there. Probably for the umpteenth time that he's been let down, and he loses it. That's
Mm-hmm.
not the way to go, guys. Stuff like this happens a lot. That's just the way, the world works. That's how family law operates. It's not on your side. It's on her side.
Yep.
The best thing, in my view, and we don't deal with guns here in public in Canada. Like, I'll tell you a story to kind of frame how Canada works with firearms. A buddy of mine is he's a defense attorney assigned by the state to defendants that can't afford. So basically, those that are unfortunate or whatever. And he deals with cases up in the Northwest Territories. Everybody has a gun up there. If you go outside in the Northwest Territories, you have to have a gun with you. It's not possible to go out because of polar bears and earth threat and that sort of shit. So everybody owns a gun up there. And the story that he told me was that he was up there to defend a guy that was in a trailer, remote. There was 4 guys that were coming after him, and they were trying to break in his trailer, and they were threatening to kill him, physical harm. He was on the phone with the cops, and he said, come, these guys are here. They break into the trailer, and his only recourse was to grab his, I think it was an SK, which is a 7.62. It's a Russian caliber generally. So he grabs his SK, which are pretty common. They're very cheap. And he kills, I think, all of them but one. This guy ends up going to jail because you can't use a rifle for self-defense, even when they're breaking into your home. What they want you to do here, believe it or not, is run out the back door and just run away. Where exactly, I don't know, if you're on the frozen tundra and there's freaking, nothing out there, but that's what they expect you to do. So that's how it rolls here. So we don't generally deal with issues like this here. But dealing with a mom that's like, no, your son's not here, you're going to have to come back later, or not telling you where he is, stoking the fire. The best thing that you can do is just whip out your cell phone. All right, so it's 3:00. You film your watch. I was told to be here at 3:00. This is now the 17th time that you've done this. Where is my son? Record it, film it, call the police, call your lawyer, and leave. And that's it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
That would be my advice. It's not worth it getting into altercation. It doesn't matter where you live in the world. It's not worth escalating and getting into altercations. As a guy, I would say that it's expected of you to de-escalate because you're scary, you're big, you've got more muscle mass, you're stronger than women. Women are always, in danger and they must be protected. So the law is going to be up against you. So the best thing for you to do is just take your phone, like even if she's freaking out, just take your phone and hold it up against your chest like this. Put your arm out. I don't want any trouble. I just wanted to pick up my son. Look, it's 3:00. I have to go now. I'm going to call the police. I'm going to let my lawyer know. Even if she's throwing shit at you, just back up, go towards your vehicle and leave. What happened here didn't need to happen.
Nope. And especially after you're told to leave, and I understand, like, trespass, people can argue, well, it's not an official trespass. He wasn't served. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. At that point, when you're told, hey, go get out of here, right? Or somebody's, certainly, like if Rich said, if someone's throwing stuff at you, yeah, get out of there. But yeah, record it. You've got it documented, right? So you've got a documented evidence that, hey, she's in non-compliance, she's in violation of the court order. You've got that proof. Get out of there, right? You don't need any more. You don't need a physical altercation, and you don't need to chew her out, right? And you certainly don't need to get into it with the other dude. And that's the situation where the violence is way more likely, way more likely to happen.
Yeah, especially in a place where everybody's got a gun too, right? Like
exactly. But like you said, regardless, even in Canada, right? And I've had Canadian lawyers say, yeah, in Canada, this would 100% be unjust. There would 100% be unjustified, no self-defense, right? 100% under Canadian law. However, even in Canada, you know to be careful when you're going on other people's property, right? Especially out in the middle of nowhere, right? I mean, you wouldn't trespass on somebody's property if you were out hunting or something like that. You see a fence or something else that says don't trespass, right? You wouldn't go on their property.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's unfortunate. Let me grab the super chats here and see what we got from the viewers. Just a donation there from Inspirational Intelligence. Glenn says, love to chat about the film project we discussed. Glenn, I got your email. I am swamped with shit right now. Like you're going to have to come at me with something that's easy to work with. I'll keep an eye out for you, but right now I'm just swamped. Donation there, and the Antonia says Texas Penal Code 25.03. This was a murder as the mother was committing a felony per Texas law. A crime was in progress. Thoughts?
So yes, I and other lawyers have addressed this. I've addressed this in some of my videos on my channel, Legal Mindset. But the part of this statute and part of the statutes that involve violation of a court order, yes. I mean, technically, if you can prove it, yes. But there's two issues. Number one, that statute requires willful violation. So now you've got to prove that she knowingly and willfully violated it, right? And the other part of it is, so it's like, okay, that's one. Number two is, so one is you've got to go to court and you've got to prove that. And the willful standard, just the level of intent that requires is pretty high. It's hard to prove that. There's a reason why people are charged with manslaughter and not first-degree murder. That's because manslaughter doesn't require intent. It doesn't require you to have premeditation, right? But when you get a willful standard, that's thinking about, okay, she premeditatedly kept this kid away. And you know what? Maybe factually that's right. Because once again, we know that single moms can play games like that, right? They can hold the kids back. They can do it intentionally. They can play games and then play innocent. And it's deplorable. It's disgusting, right? That's obviously the job for the court to enforce. But another sad fact is that courts go pretty light. And we've talked about this. I talked about this with Rollo. Sentencing punishment on women is very light.
It's always lighter than what men get for the same crime. It's always been that way.
Always lighter. And the family court is no exception. In fact, I think the family court is even worse, right? They're going to be very light on her. Say, oh, well, the kid was with the mother and all she wanted was a little more time, or she forgot. They're going to give her the P pass, as we call it. The pink pass. The pink pass.
So, Andrew says, has Andrew read the legal insurrection breakdown saying the self-defense window opened and closed a few times?
So I know. So that's a shout out to Andrew from Law of Self-Defense. There's another Andrew who's a lawyer who's Law of Self-Defense. He writes sometimes for Legal Insurrection. I don't agree with his take really, and I'm actually kind of surprised that he's taken a restrictive take on this, given that his entire thing is self-defense, and I think closing the window or narrowing this window is a questionable thing. I think that what he's trying to do, frankly, I'm a guy who shoots straight.
Mhm.
What he's trying to do is he's trying to say, oh, this is a bad guy. Self-defense only works for good guys, and we're going to interpret bad guys as not falling within self-defense, and we're going to have good guys. No, I don't do that. I don't cap. Look, I think that it can be ethically wrong, right, to shoot this guy, right? But that doesn't mean that under the law it's impermissible. And there's other things coming into play here that, frankly, Andrew, who's the guy who's writing on legal insurrection, he doesn't law of self-defense. He doesn't factor in Texas law. He also doesn't factor in the fact that Texans have different expectations of what is reasonable, and that's material, right? He's doing it on a national basis and saying, oh, well, nationally, generally, there's this hard and fast self-defense window. Well, that's not how it works in application, right? I agree with him, and he's a very smart guy. This is what he focuses on, but I just disagree with his outcome. And two lawyers can respectfully do that. A lot of lawyers have been on about this and respectfully disagreed about this. And that's where we get into the debate about this self-defense window. Is there a self-defense window? How wide is it? I'm very permissive because I think self-defense is tied in with American Second Amendment rights. What point is there to have a gun if you can't use it at some point, right? So I'm against the narrowing of the self-defense window. But that's my personal opinion, informed by the law. Right?
Does that vary from state to state, the notion of self-defense? Like if this was in California, with
wildly. Wildly. There's states in which even in your own home, you've got to run away. Right.
Really?
So you've got a duty to retreat. Yes.
Okay. So they have Canada law in certain states, then probably the more socialist ones. Right?
Texas has the strongest law, one of the strongest.
Like F you, get off my property law.
Yeah. Defense of property is not even a thing in most states.
Okay. There's a headline here that I'm looking at on kcbd.com, and it says Chad Reed's widow seeks $50 million in wrongful death lawsuit. What, do you think she has a case for $50 million from this guy?
No. And
I mean, not like she's ever going to get it, right?
You have to also understand, and well, first of all, some people have reached out that know Kyle, that live in Lubbock. They're like, Kyle's a POS, he's a bad guy, and people locally don't like him. Fun fact, here's a fun fact, Rich. You'll like this one. Kyle's ex-wife is a judge. Kyle just got divorced from a judge who was appointed by Governor Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas. Hang on a sec.
Kyle's ex-wife, so the guy that shot him?
Yes,
is a judge?
Yes.
He's got balls on him, eh?
The giant brass balls, and the fact that he
really downgraded too. He went from a judge to a single mommy that files his paperwork.
Well, we've talked all about dating lawyers, and dating judges is not much.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
So
noted.
If we want to rehash that one, that's a whole.
If you guys want to see that cast, Andrew and I talked at one point about dating professionals. It's on my Before the Train Wreck playlist. You can go look for it.
Yeah, that's a whole separate thing, but. He's got some balls, but the fact that the prosecutors still haven't charged him, when his wife is probably like, yeah, screw this a-hole, right? Behind the scenes to the prosecutors, because the judges are very close with the prosecutors. I mean, that shows that they know that these charges aren't going to go through. They're not going to fly. A jury's not going to convict on them. It says a lot. It says a lot.
So the case for the 50 mil, though? You think
but for the 50 mil, no way. I think that Chad did a lot of things that were negligent on his side, and there's a principle called comparative negligence. So
here's what she's claiming, by the way, for those of you that are interested. Chad's current wife, who filmed, from what I understand, she's judgment against defendants in the amount of $100 million. I thought it was $50 million it said in the title. Anyway, $100 million for actual damage, losses, mental anguish, loss of companion. You can get money for loss of companionship, society, loss of inheritance, eh? I was going to get, X millions of dollars when he died. Now I'm not going to get it. For physical and mental pain, suffering, mental anguish, medical expenses. What medical expenses? He's dead. Funeral expenses. Yeah, okay, maybe PTSD should probably claim it. Exemplary damages, pre and post judgment interest as allowed by law. Is that something, or is it just let's just throw whatever we can at the wall and see what sticks?
You got it. It's the throw the pasta at the wall, see what's al dente, right? And a lot of lawyers do that, especially your personal injury lawyers, your plaintiffs lawyers. They just throw everything out there because they know that, hey, none of them may stick, but you may get a settlement because it's such a pain to deal with. We call it nuisance value. And when I was representing corporations and I'm representing governments, in both cases, all the time there are things being settled for nuisance value. So she may get some nuisance value off of this, right? Just to go away, some go away money.
Yeah. Let's grab these last supers. Link says, cheers to both of you. Thanks again to Rich for what you do. Your book is outstanding. The situation is bad news. Rikita Law said that it's legal to shoot. Rikita is right. Shout out to Rikita. Is that a
yeah, so channel? Nick Ricada, actually, I've been on his channel a lot. He's actually one of the guys who helped my channel boom, because after I did the Kyle Rittenhouse case, his stream, Nick Ricada's stream, was the most streamed on the internet for watching the Kyle Rittenhouse case. People didn't watch it even on PBS or anywhere else. It was literally on that stream.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so and we were there, kind of shot calling it, which was great because it got us a lot of exposure in the mainstream. And Nick is great. He's got a great show and a great setup, but he called it. I agree with Nick. So that super chat and I are kind of in alignment. Nick's in alignment with me. I mean, both him and I feel it's not a great situation. This guy's not a great person, right? But neither one of these people are angels. It's also coming out that Chad may have a criminal background, right? So, nobody's an angel in this. And there is a theory, I saw somebody in your chat point out, that this was a giant conspiracy, that this was set up to kill Chad, right? That Kyle and her, because she seems very cold. She's off to the side. She's not very emotional, the mother, right? While all of this is happening, they're saying, hey, this is a conspiracy. Okay, that's fine. I'll entertain that. That's very possible, but let's see some proof of that. That's something that Chad Reed's widow is putting out. This was a conspiracy to kill Chad. They lured him over there, that he knew the law, that he was standing on his porch intentionally because he knew that would trigger Texas law. And that he, said some of the things he said intentionally because they were going to murder him. Well, that's fine, but you've got to prove that now. Now, if that's proven, if you see text messages that say, hey, murder's on at 6:15, right? Then yeah, you're going to get him. But I'm going to tell you guys, it's really fucking hard to prove that. Like, it's really, really hard. That's a willful standard once again. And proving that intent is going to be difficult, despite the fact that you might be right. People might be right about the conspiracy thing, but it's going to be almost impossible to prove that in a court of law.
Got it. Dylan says, good to see the connection is stable. And Andrew says, guilty in a civil case like OJ.
It's a different situation than OJ is much different, but it's possible, right? It's possible because the standard for a civil case is lower, right? It's more of a, majority of the evidence, right, is on your side, versus beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a super high standard.
Yeah. Well, on that note, let's start to wrap it up. Cause I mean, guys, like at the end of the day, stuff like this ain't worth it. It's okay. You chalk it up as a loss. You're a dude. You're supposed to, I hate to say it, but you're supposed to suck it up, buttercup, because that's what society, expects of you. So you got to toe the line. Just document, hey, I was here, film it, give it to the authorities, and, just let your kid know that, you love them, you miss them, and that you did the best that you could. And, at some point when they get older, trust me, guys, at some point when they get older, if enough of this shit goes down and she's trying to alienate you from your children, they're going to figure it out soon enough that their mom's a dickhead. And, that's basically what they'll figure out when they get older. I mean, at this point, dad's dead, kid doesn't have a father. And now there's, all of this controversy that's come out of it, right? Nobody wants any of that shit. It could have been handled way better. Closing thoughts?
No, that's it. I think that this situation was handled poorly by both parties. Yeah. And like you said, just literally avoiding putting yourself in these situations can literally save your life. So, that's where we want you guys to be, to avoid that entire train wreck of, getting in.
There's only so much that you can really do. I mean, like, you can't, nobody gets a crystal ball when they meet somebody and they get them pregnant to know what they're going to be like in the future. I mean, there's certain things that you can do, live in a state that's, got shared parenting. There's, definitely read my book, because I got a red flag chapter in there and I talk about divorce and marriage and why you shouldn't date single moms and all that. But you get the idea. There's better ways to handle it. But anyway, we'll wrap it up on that note. Andrew, thanks for joining me. Where can people find you?
Guys, find me on YouTube at the Legal Mindset. Also, my locals, legalmindset.locals.com, which is my unfiltered, uncensored, because increasingly YouTube is censoring you when you speak about all sorts of topics. So find me there, either on my YouTube channel or on my locals, and come over and join the community. Thank you,
Cool.
guys.